Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening and welcome to Golf Talk Live. I'm your host, Ted Odorico, broadcasting live every Thursday, 6 to 8 p.m. Central from Panama City Beach, Florida, home of the world's most beautiful beaches. I want to take this opportunity to thank everyone for joining me on my weekly broadcast. Every week, I'll feature some of the best instructors, coaches, authors, and entrepreneurs in the golf business today. I begin with a great discussion on Coach's Corner, followed by an insightful interview with my special guest. So let's get started by introducing tonight's Coach's Corner panel. All right, good evening, everybody, and once again, welcome to Golf Talk Live. I'm your host, Ted Odorico, and I'm very excited to have everybody joining me tonight. We've got a really great show for a couple of reasons. We're going to have Coach's Corner is back this week, and we're going to talk with the gang, if you will, here in just a moment. I'll introduce them in just a few seconds. And then a little bit later on, I'm going to be joined by a very special guest, President and CEO of Mystical Golf out of Myrtle Beach, Carolina, and his name is Claude Pardue, and he'll be joining us on the second half. But I just want to remind everybody, we are live every Thursday evening from 6 to 8 p.m. Central, and you can find us on the blogtalkradio.com network. Just go to blogtalkradio.com, type in Golf Talk Live, and you will find us there front and center every Thursday evening live. Also, I want to remind everybody that Golf Talk Live is brought to you by the iGolf Sports Network and Golf Tips Magazine. iGolf Sports is a live stream broadcast and media production company providing top-quality programming designed to attract the golfing enthusiast. Golf Tips, the game's most in-depth instruction magazine, offering insightful reviews on the latest equipment, tips from the top PGA and LPGA teacher professionals, all designed to help improve your game from tee to green. So subscribe today at golftipsmag.com. All right, as I mentioned, we've got a great show tonight. Joining me on the panel, first up is Jamie Leno-Zimron. She is an instructor, body worker, and consultant. She's also an Aikido 6th-degree black belt, Class A LPGA teacher professional, a corporate and conference speaker, executive trainer and coach, and speaker for Vistage International and TEC Canada, which is the executive committee. Also joining on the panel is John Hughes, a PGA Master Professional and honorary president of the North Florida PGA section, and is the recipient of the 2013 PGA of America Horton Smith Award. And he's also a Golf Tips Magazine Top 25 instructor and part of Golf Tips golf advisory staff. So glad to have him aboard as well. And then rounding out the panel, last but not least, is Paul Castor, one of the country's leading golf coaches, a Golf Channel lead coach, and recognized by Golf Digest as one of the best teachers in New Jersey for the years 2018, and also honored by U.S. Kids Golf as one of 2017's top 50 kids teachers. He's level 2 certified with TPI and Aimpoint and K-Motion, and also serves on Foresight Sports Advisory Board and the New Jersey PGA's Junior Golf Committee. So, guys, welcome to Coach's Corner panel here tonight on Golf Talk Live.
Thanks for having us, Beth.
All right, appreciate it, guys. Thank you. So as I was telling you off air, we're going to talk about women and the game of golf. And as I was mentioning, I came across a very interesting article, or booklet actually, if you will, and it talked about a variety of different things. So I just want to read out a couple of things, and then we'll sort of get into our specific discussion tonight. So this was written in the foreword, and it says, "We all think of golf as a game strongly tied to traditions, and in so many ways it is. Excuse me. Golf is also a game that has, over hundreds of years since its inception, shown great resiliency, growth, and change. From the implements of the game is played with the course, it is played upon, to the attire and even economics that underpin the game. We have continuously seen an ongoing transformation. The world continues to change with an onslaught of new technologies playing a big role in reshaping our economy. The accompanying social and cultural changes are significant. With the advent of a new economic reality, we are seeing shift in priorities and a shift in the way people, and in particular women, participate in this changing world." So just a quick note, more than 50% of the population, 52% of the population and 50% of the workforce are women. So they fuel an economy that is bigger than many of the countries in the world, particularly here in the United States. And what was really, really interesting is, and I'm going to ask just a very sort of a brief thought on this statistic I'm about to give you from each of you. And Jamie, I'm going to go with ladies first. I'm going to start with you, and then we'll go with John and then Paul. Game-changing insights generate through a study that was done by Boston Consulting Group. Their study shows that 42% of the 90 million people who have expressed interest in golf are women. So it's not quite half, but it's pretty darn close to half. What do you think about when you hear that stat? First off, 90 million, roughly 90, it's probably a little more now, it's probably closer to 100 million. People in this country have a vested interest or some interest in playing the game, and nearly half of them are women. Yet, when you look statistically through the golf industry and even people playing now, that percentage, and we'll get into that a little bit later, the percentage is actually very, very low in comparison. I'd like to get your thoughts on what you first think about that statistic, and then why you think the actual numbers don't pan out to that of the interest. What are your thoughts, Jamie?
Well, that is an amazing statistic. I hadn't really heard that, but approaching half of those interested in golf are women. I mean, any business person ought to put yourself right, ought to be paying a lot of attention to that statistic. I mean, if you're just even looking at it from a business point of view, in terms of who's your market and all of that. And we also know that women, any new golfer and women in particular would be buying equipment and buying clothes and fashion and, all these kinds of things. Women are also in many ways, very involved with the choices that they make for their kids' activities and junior golf. We've got incredible LPGA girls golf programs. And, there's just so much potential there that's crazy if you really think about it. And I think also it's kind of interesting to think about COVID in that golf is probably one of the sports that is the most playable, right? The thing that we can do. And that people can do even during COVID. There's ways to be safe and distant and all of that, and to be outdoors and to be physical and to be social and all these things we can do in golf that we can't do in so many other sports and athletic activities just because of the nature of it. So I think it's a statistic we ought to be paying great attention to, even if it's only from the business point of view. But, I look at things, from more than that point of view. The old sort of golf, gentlemen only, ladies, I forget what the F was, right?
Forbidden.
But, such that, in so many ways, the world has been, and the outer world and the world of activity has been, quite frankly, dominated by men for, decades, centuries, for a very long time. And that is applied to women, too. That being said, we know that women have been involved in golf, have been fantastic golfers, and, we have the early founders of the LPGA and before. And, so it's not like women, haven't played golf, can't play golf, or anything like that. However, it's all been about opportunity. So we do have a world that is changing and changing maybe even more rapidly. It's like the pace of change has accelerated, even in the last week or two. It's just happening. So a lot of norms, a lot of old norms and dominant norms are suddenly being questioned even more than they have been since we'll call them liberation movements or whatever in the last decade. So all that is happening, and I think that's important that we continue to really do all that we can to bring women into the game and provide the kinds of developmental learning opportunities and just so many opportunities in golf for women, and the interest is there. And so I think it's on us to to support women in the game of golf. And so that statistic's a very, very important one. Yeah.
Right.
So those are some initial thoughts I have. I'm sure we're going to say a lot more, but those are initial thoughts just to throw them out there to get us started.
Yeah, no, that's some great points there. Thank you, Jamie. John, I want to get your thoughts on the numbers that I threw out, but I want to also ask the question a little bit differently, or pose I guess a scenario, if you will, a little bit differently, and that is, women are obviously interested now and are more involved in business than they've ever been in the past, and they have a strong desire to participate in golf. Many, women I've even had on the show over the years have some form of business in golf, not necessarily teaching, but in other aspects, who at one time would go in, the office and, after a weekend, and they would hear the guys, as they say, around the old water cooler and talking about, a great round that they played and kind of feeling left out because they weren't able to get into discussion. One of the key points that many women bring up is they sort of sit on the sidelines, as I just pointed out, and in significant numbers. And the key thing is that their argument or their comment back is they're waiting for an invitation, because it's not something normally that they would have been involved with, and that causes some of the hesitation. What do you think of the numbers first off, and what can we do to fill that void and making many of those women feel more welcome by offering and extending that invitation? What can we do as professionals, number one, and as a whole in the industry? What do you think, John?
Thanks for pleasure being on the show again, Ted. It's always a good time being here, Jamie and Paul. Looking forward to a good hour discussion with us. It's not the normal coaching discussion. The 42%, that's an awesome number. But I would tell you, whether it's coaching, operating a facility, it doesn't matter what it is. I think the first thing we've got to be doing is listening. I'll give you a really good example. When I was in the golf school business, over 58% of the purchases were made by women. We kept track of that. And they were buying for a spouse. They were buying for a boss. They were buying for a child. They were buying for a friend. They were buying because they're involved in volunteerism and needed something for a charitable gift or needed something for a door prize. If we're not listening just to that movement, then we're certainly not listening to the water cooler or the body language of the water cooler and that female going, wow, if that's what it's going to take for me to climb the corporate ladder, then I need to get involved. I need to start doing something. One of the people that come to mind is Ann Brome. She's the CEO of Ahead. She's formerly of Cutter and Buck. This is exactly how she started playing golf. She felt like, hey, I had to climb the corporate ladder somehow. She was in fashion. She migrated to start playing golf, and one thing leads to another, and she's the head of one of the most powerful clothing companies that we have in the golf industry. All that happened for her is someone listened along the way. Someone listened to what her needs were. We listened to what her desires were at the time and now, and someone brought down the barriers. When we don't listen, that automatically puts up a barrier, and that's the very first thing we have to do as an industry is just start listening. Numbers are one thing. What are you doing listening to those numbers? Are you aware of the power of the purchasing power? Are you aware of the business savvy? Are you aware of just what we do at a golf course if we listened a little bit to make it a little more friendly, a little bit more warm and inviting? That's all it really takes. We can do a better job. We're doing a better job at it every day across the board, but we can always do a better job at this, regardless of what that number might be. Right.
Well said. And we're going to talk a little bit, Paul, I'm going to actually lead you into this next question, which sort of piggybacks on what John was just talking about, purchasing power. And I want to read a couple of more stats out here. And the reason why I'm reading these stats is because I want not just for us to understand as we approach this topic tonight, but I want the listeners, particularly those in the golf industry who may be tuning in tonight, to really let these numbers resonate in their thoughts and as they apply it to their own businesses. So, when you talk about purchasing power, now women are contributing, again, nearly 50% to household income because many women have careers now where, unlike before, where many of them were stay at home, more and more are getting out into the workforce and now even in running successful businesses. So women account traditionally a very, very high percentage, obviously, of grocery purchase. In fact, 93%. So that tells you right there. These are some that I wasn't as aware of. 66% of personal computer purchases are by women. 80% of healthcare purchases are by women, and 65% of new car purchases are by women. Now, I know those are not directly related to the golf industry, Paul, but there is obviously an undervalued and underestimated marketplace there that I think the golf industry could tap into. They have, and I'm going to get into one more quick stat here. Let me just run back up, and I want to mention this. This is to the U.S. Census Bureau. Single childless women ages 22 to 30 in most U.S. cities have a higher median income than their male counterparts, in some cases as high as 118%, which means they've got money to spend. This is an opportunity, I believe, for the golf industry to take notice and say, not only because we know ourselves that golf can certainly help cultivate opportunities in the business world, but also it may be an opportunity for the golf industry to redirect some of their marketing efforts. Maybe touch on a little bit your thoughts on some of what I've just read, and if I need to repeat any of the stats for reference, by all means, just ask. But what do you think about what I just said?
Well, I think the stats are really, provide, I guess, a stark background. I knew that women made most of the consumer decisions in most households, but I don't think I completely appreciated, how much based on the stats that you just read as far as computer
right.
purchases and car purchases and and I think with the exception of maybe what's happening right now, just by luck with COVID in a kind of a strange way, that it's one of the few things that people have been able to do, and we're seeing this growth in the game. Until recently, the game really wasn't doing very well at all. And I think the game has been very traditional. It's been oftentimes very exclusive, and that also is meant, in a kind of an exclusionary way, right? And things have gotten more progressive, but women haven't necessarily been made to feel welcome at golf clubs and golf courses, just in a similar way that oftentimes juniors aren't made to feel welcome. And I think it's really imperative for the golf industry to hear those numbers and start catering to the people who are making consumer decisions for the vast majority of American households. If we want the game to prosper, and if we want to be inclusionary and keep up with the things that are happening in the country, because we're, as a country, we're moving more in that direction than the opposite direction. And I think one of the things that can really help is just creating entry-level programs that are available at public access facilities as well as private facilities, and really trying to grow the offerings for women specifically, because my experience is that they're kind of lacking, and public facilities is where the game really gets grown. And I think we need to pay close attention to those numbers that you just read, Ted, because they're kind of amazing to me, and start shifting the way we market the game, frankly.
Right. Well said. Well, excuse me, there's an old saying, you don't know what you don't know. And it's a very powerful statement because, a lot of times we don't sometimes understand, we look through a different lens a lot of times when we view things that are going on around us, as we've all come to discover. And, Jamie, one of the other things which is kind of interesting, and again, these numbers may fluctuate a little bit. Again, the study was done a few years ago, but it is generally pretty consistent. And this next set of numbers, and I'm going to pose my question to you on this. In the last 5 years, for every man who quit playing golf, which we know there are a number of reasons, some could be out of frustration, some could be their age and ability maybe is not up to snuff, whatever that reason being. For every man who quits playing the game of golf, 3 women have left the game. And what's interesting, if we go back to the original stat that I talked about, the potential 90 to 100 million people that have an interest, and 40, maybe 45%, let's say, giving, if we pump it up a little bit more, are women who are interested in playing the game. This stat is very, very shocking to me. And this was put up by the National Golf Foundation. 19.3% of all golfers are female. That's less than 20%. 16.6% of all golf rounds played are played by women. So that's despite the fact that there is a strong interest, there's a very, very low participation rate and also a very high exit rate by women, 3-1. That number alone tells me something isn't right. What do you think about the numbers I just read here, and what can we do to turn that around, to increase those percentages of female golfers and numbers of round played? Is it a systemic problem? Is it just a matter of not having adequate accessibility? What do you think the problem is, and what does that number represent to you? For every man, 3 women are leaving the game.
Well, first of all, I just want to appreciate you for the research you've done and bringing out not just the statistics, but some of the significance of the statistics. So, bringing out that gap between the, say, 42%, I believe you said, yes, out of 90 million people interested in golf are women, and yet less than 20% are playing the game, are really out there. So, the big question is, what's up with that gap? Why does that exist? And so I think that's just really important to bring that out and to question that. So a couple things. One, you say it's systemic. So part of this systemic issue, I think, is the fact that women are in the workforce a lot more. We know that. At the same time, women still have the preponderance of responsibilities at home in terms of, cooking, raising the kids, et cetera. And it's still kind of looked at that men help. And so if you have an involved dad or an involved husband, like, good on you, right? But it's not as though that is taken as a 50-50 thing yet by any means. So women are struggling as it is with work-life balance. Or work-home balance, shall we say. And so, then where is the time to play golf? And we know that golf is time-consuming, and if you're newer to the game, it's even more time-consuming. So if you didn't grow up playing golf, and, more boys and girls who are now men and women grow up playing golf, and, the guys are in the game business-wise and all that sort of thing. So, who's the first person that's going to be able to leave on Saturday or leave after work to go play golf? The man or the woman, the mom or the dad, the husband or the wife, right? And so I think that you have to look at that. So where do women really have the time to be playing golf or to be learning the game, coming into the game? I think that's a really, really big factor. So, I don't think we can get away from those kinds of issues when you're looking at just the sort of basics of time availability, right? And then, golf is time-consuming, golf is expensive, if golf hasn't been kind of in your DNA and your genes, which it hasn't for generations with women as it has been for men, it's going to take more to sort of start up, to get going in the game. And then we know that golf tends to be a bit frustrating to learn. It's not that easy to pick up. There are a lot of other activities that you can do that you're going to have more success more quickly. And so the attrition rate then that you're pointing to, basically, that 3 women leave for every man who leaves the game. And we know that we have a big problem with the attrition rate in golf. We've been trying to grow the game, and I'm not sure the current statistics, but it was always roughly kind of 3 million in, 3 million out every year. If we get 3 million new golfers, that's awesome. But we've also got about 3 million leaving. And again, I'm not sure what that current is, but we've barely been holding our own, if that. And if we've got 3 new women golfers that we were able to even get to begin to play and to take some of the beginners programs or start to get involved in, we said the Executive Women's Golf Association. It's now under the LPGA, the Amateur Women's Golf Association, various programs at private or public facilities. And we've also been really working to grow the numbers in the teaching division in the LPGA since I've been in. I think we've gone from 1,200 up to about 1,800. Women tend to like to work with women pros and to do better, particularly in the beginning. So, we're working on that, and still, given all of the pressures, and we know that stress and financial stress and work stress and just the number of hours, that's been going up in America, not down. So the amount of disposable time, much less income, is not really that available to women. And so therefore, we're having either a higher attrition rate or a lower entry rate even for women as compared to men. So those are some of the factors I would think of.
Yeah, and those are some equally, again, some great points, Jamie, because you're exactly right. There's certainly a lot of factors, and we're not going to solve everything here tonight, but I think it's an important discussion to have, because I think as we move forward now, as a result of things like COVID and other issues that have gone on, we have to really take stock of things. If we truly want, we've heard this term go around for quite some time, growing the game, and we all want to do that in many capacities, but I think we have to really take stock of things and recognize that there are some areas where some changes need to be made. And John, I'm going to put this on you. I'm going to read, again, just a couple of things. They're not stats, but I think for any facility, for any general manager, or even in the pro shop and so forth, I think really need to take note of some things I'm going to mention here. So I would recommend, and I know they do this on a continual basis, but to walk around the facility, and these are some questions or items that really need to take stock of, and then I want to get your comments on that, is directional signage. Take note of the style and messaging placement of your signage. Is it effectively communicating to all your customers in a way they can understand? So is it very general, very easy to understand? Any signage there that people know where to go, or people understand what it is you're providing in your facility? Customer greeting as well, describing the way your staff greets customers. Note body language, demeanor. That's extremely important. First impressions when people walk into a pro shop, and this goes on to the next one, golf shop as well. You want to look around the merchandise. Is it an overall good placement of products in that is balanced for both men and women? Because that's important. Food service as well, taking a healthy mix of foods, not just your traditional what's normally associated with the members clubs, but that's something that's become very important, and particularly for women who are very, very health conscious, much more so than men. Promotional items, imagery, and things like that. Cleanliness is another one, and staff is extremely important. Who makes up your staff? Notice diversity. John, I want you to touch on, you don't have to go through every one, but just maybe an overall theme. This is something that I think clubs need to really take and pay special attention to, because one of the criticisms that I've heard from many, many women is when they walk into a facility that it's not inviting for them as it is for the men. Number one, the signage is very, very confusing, especially if they're new to golf. And also, they want to see more representation that makes them feel that they're welcome to the club. If everybody that works there is all men, then they don't feel the diversity, that it's an equal opportunity for them to come in and experience that. Touch on those a little bit and give me your thoughts on what we can do generally, and is that something that you think is been going on for a while, those changes happening already?
I would sum up all those as common sense, best practices, whether it's a male or female. What are you doing to make your facility warm and inviting, in particular to the new player? That right there sends a message that we're thinking of you. This is your home for the next 4.5 to 5 hours. That's some of the best outside service personnel I've ever worked with thought of the golf cart as, hey, it's their home for the next 4 hours. Let's make it warm and inviting. Let's make sure everything is there and put in its place and it's clean. The signage to get to that cart. A lot of facilities do a really good job of this. And the ones that are perceived as not doing a good job are typically the ones that are being more reactive. Maybe
right.
there's a hole in the roof, or a fryer went down in the kitchen, and we're right in the middle of the season. We've got a disease in the greens. We've got to get that going. It's always a constant reaction. And as you get caught up in these reactions, you forget about the proactivity that's required of any business, retail business, brick and mortar, and that's truly what a golf course is, to have it feel like a home. Unlike other retail businesses, there are some department stores, Nordstrom comes to mind right off the bat early in their history. It was okay for you to sit around there 4, 5, 6 hours. That's what they were wanting you to do. They sold more goods that way, but their service was out of the park. They hit home runs all the time. At the end of the day, what you're really talking about there is, what are we doing from a service value standpoint of view to not only have women feel more welcome, but just new golfers in general feel more welcome? I think we have to take the gender and race bias off of this and look at it in a more holistic way. For us to sustain ourselves, we have to create 0.1 more golfer than who we are now. So if you look at it, hey, can I give 10% more of who I am as an operator or who I am behind the counter? That's all it really takes. I will say something that I've noticed recently. My facility put a female in the shop. She's wanting to become a PGA professional. Very much a go-getter. Great personality. She's been in there maybe 3 months. I've seen an uptick of females that are either A, playing, or B, they're sticking around the grill and having something to eat while they're waiting for someone to finish playing. There is a positive to having a balance of staff, both in the pro shop and in the other places at your facility. It's as any employer would say, they've got to pick the right people for the right mix. It's got to be a good fit. And I'm not here to say you shouldn't be doing that. I agree with that. But if you're making an effort to seek a balance that's warm and inviting, I think the numbers are there. You're not going to see it immediately. You will see it over time, and you have to stay the course. And if you stay that course, there's some facilities that have done it early on. They have an incredible track record of bringing in new golfers, but most importantly, retaining them for the simple reason they're using common sense and they're inviting people into their homes. This is your home for 4 or 5 hours. Have fun. Enjoy yourself. Get something out of the refrigerator. Make yourself at home. Sit down. Whatever the case may be. That's. I think if we take a more personal approach that way to golf, I know I have with my coaching business. I've got chairs under the tent. I've got drinks there. I've got, you name it, it's there. And I know that's the home. of my clients for the duration they're with me. It's been
Right.
very good for my business. I think you take a small page of that, you can grow your business, but most importantly, you can maintain the roles of golfers that are going to frequent your facility most often.
Right. All right. Exactly. Well said. Paul, one of the things, and we've kind of touched on it here a little bit, but is how we market golf and what's truly, how well do we know our customers, and what a lot of facilities, as John mentioned, we're seeing more and more women starting to come into pro shops in other areas besides just traditional service areas in facilities, and even some clubs have, in fact, even hired more women on their boards just to get their input and feedback. And there's a lot of things that generally speaking, that women look for in an experience. Number one, they want to be treated with dignity and respect. So when they come to a facility, they want to feel welcomed. They want to feel, as I said, that they're getting a sort of a special invitation to come there and not feeling intimidated. They also want to make sure that cleanliness is important as well. If they go into different parts of the facility, they want to know whether it's the restrooms or not. They want to know that they're being taken care of. And they want, just as much as the next person, they want to kind of escape for a few hours and do something that's fun. And they're also about comfort. They want to know that, again, it's a comfortable, relaxed, and warm, inviting experience. And I think the dynamics have changed with couples as well. Years ago, traditionally with married couples, the husband went one way and the wife went one way doing different activities. He might go and play golf. She might get together with friends and do different activities. And then they would, come together and on holiday and things like that. But more and more couples, as they start to develop now, want to do more things together. And golf is a great opportunity. And I think this is why you're seeing, in fact, I know why you're seeing an uptick in interest by women, is not just from the advantages from business, but also wanting to spend more time with their partners. And traditionally, again, it's for many years has been a male-dominated sport. Women want to play a more closer role with their spouse in those types of activities. So, again, how do you feel can we do as an industry, or you even as a coach, to market that experience, to say, okay, you know what? Instead of looking at it, you come take lessons and you come take lessons, how can we do something to make it more of a family affair, if you will?
Well, it's interesting, Ted. You know what? While we're talking about the subject and Jamie and John were having a chance to talk, one of the things that came into my mind was how it really also kind of takes, in a sense, a gamble on the part of ownership of a facility to employ teachers who can teach people how to play the game and make it so that everybody wants to be there, be at the golf course as much as possible. That means expanding junior programs. It means expanding programs for women, expanding programs for families to play together. And, personnel, one of the most expensive parts of a golf operation. And so it does take, there's only so much that a staff can do when you have one or two assistant pros, the head pro, and you're running 150 rounds a day. And so to invite everybody into the game and to make it a place where families are going to be able to spend entire days at the club because everybody knows how to play, and there's a place for everybody at the facility. There's an activity, there are junior tournaments, there are camps or clinics or coaching programs available. We honestly need more qualified teachers and golf pros working at the facility to make sure all of those things can happen. And I think as far as teaching families go, I'm right now running programs, coaching programs, where I have a teenage daughter, maybe a 10-year-old daughter, mom and dad, all involved in kind of a coaching program together where I spend time with each of them separately, and then we go out onto the golf course and we play together. And they get to see me play a little bit and get to learn from how, learn some of the things that I've learned from playing golf for the last 32 years or so. Mm-hmm. And I can help them feel comfortable at the facility and learn how to play the game and make it so that they can all function together and do it as a family. So I think offering as many options as you can along those lines and offering instructional programs for really everybody in the family so that they can feel comfortable and enjoy the game is going to be a real big piece of this.
Again, well said. Just to touch on a few of the points, Jamie, that we've talked about here tonight. You've all brought up in some way, shape, or form many of the things I'm about to mention. And, here are some key things that women value, or we all really value, but women particularly value, and some of the barriers and also what some of the opportunities are. Time, under the value categories, there's 5 of them really: time, friendship, learning, belonging, and shopping. Women really look at all of those when they make their decisions. Golf, as we know, one of the barriers can be very time consuming, especially when you're multitasking. You've got a full-time job or even a part-time job, but then you've got responsibilities when you get home. The other issue is, we all enjoy having friends and creating and developing friendships. Sometimes in certain situations, having a lack of other women to play with to make them feel more comfortable. And learning can be difficult. Golf can be very intimidating for the best of them, but particularly for women that are not familiar with the game, they're unfamiliar with that game. So we have to do the best we can to educate. And then a sense of belonging. We all want that, that sense of belonging. And sometimes, again, depending on the first impressions, it can come across sometimes as an unwelcoming environment. And then obviously, on the last one, shopping, not that they're going to do all their major purchases at the golf shop, but sometimes there's a lack of golf merchandise that hits those sweet spots for them. So as we sort of wrap up tonight's discussion here in the next few minutes, I'm going to give each of you an opportunity, again, to touch on some of those things. What are some things, first off, Jamie, with the time? What can we do? We want to be able to create and offer some fun and time-saving formats. Not everybody can play 18 holes. Not everybody can play 9 holes. Is it time, do you think, for the industry to come up with some other options for the busy consumer and particularly for women who don't have as much time in some cases? What are your thoughts there in time?
Well, I think this has really been an issue that's facing the golf industry in general, that golf's just very time-consuming and along with that, kind of expensive. So and a lot of people have been talking about, can we have 3-hole options or 6-hole options or even 9 holes, right? But, I mean, is that, in a sense, is that kosher? Is it still golf? Can we kind of play with golf in those kinds of ways? We're so used to you got to play 9 or 18 holes. So I think that's a question in general. And I think that it's also one for sure specifically for women because time is so short, as I talked about earlier. And, for there to be, say, a 2-hour event that is available once or twice a week that women can go to, I think it would be a good idea. It is a good idea to incorporate fitness because, for example, people do carve out, women do carve out or are able to carve out an hour or two to go to a fitness class or a yoga class or a Zumba class or whatever it might be. If you can get your fitness with golf, learn the game of golf, have social time, be outdoors, and maybe go play 3 holes, right? So you're learning the game, you're getting to play, you're with others, and I think it's really important to incorporate the fitness aspect so that, all those things can be met at once. I think if we start to develop some kinds of programs like that, that we would start to maybe make some more inroads. To the point about family time, I know when I was growing up, it was a different era, and in fact, the family, making golf sort of a family affair really helped, right? Because we were all there together. My parents were playing, or us kids were playing, or we were playing all together. We don't really have those kinds of situations so much anymore, and it turns out that even for junior golfers, golf has gotten so competitive. So then parents, and often women, end up spending their time, kind of, and their money driving their kids around to play golf, or to play soccer, or whatever the sport might be. No, those are realities if you're looking at is time available. Once again, the division of sort of labor between, if you're looking at families that are a traditional, mom-dad kind of family, we've got to look at that division of labor. There are a lot of single women, gay women who are playing golf, and having opportunities there where those aren't necessarily the considerations, but you're looking at, and also business women to provide opportunities to learn, to play, to get better at the game, to be prepared to play in charity golf events or business golf events and those sorts of things. And to just have a social time, a good time. I know that there have been organizations, and they've been really successful in providing playing opportunities, say on a weekend for single women or for gay women, and that those things are really important. When you're looking at women, not everybody is, is a mom or, in that sort of situation. So I think we have to look at all of these things, and I do think that time is definitely a consideration. And as I said, to me, some of the optimal ways or optimal kind of events, clinic-type events, would be incorporating the fitness element, the social element, and getting out on the golf course element, but that isn't the full 9 holes or 18 holes.
Right.
And
again, well said.
One more thing. There's also been, stores and pro shops and all have, created events where on the shopping part of things. And shopping also has to do not just with shopping, but with really understanding golf equipment and what is needed on clubs and clothing and shoes and all of that. And, that's something that's important as well. And those are really nice events, and they bring women in, and they prepare women to be at the golf course.
Right. Yeah, and that's extremely important as well. As again, that's part of sort of falls under the intimidation side of things as well. Is if you're coming, and that can be for men or women, but if you're coming to a facility and you're not really golf savvy, shall we say, it can be very intimidating. You walk into a pro shop, there's a lot of stuff there. What's used, what's not used. Is it just for dressing? Window dressing, so to speak. I mean, again, if you're not familiar with the game. John, another thing too, just going on the accessibility to courses, do we need to rethink, and certainly we want to have some of these beautiful facilities that we have and when people do have the time, but do we maybe to need to rethink our future development of golf courses, and in addition to continuing to develop and build some great tracks to play on, not everybody has time to play, a course that's 7,200 or even 7,000 yards or beyond. Do we need to factor in maybe bringing in more par 3 or executive style courses that people can get around even 18 holes or even 9 holes in a little over an hour? Is that an option that needs to be rethought? And I know there's plenty out there, but maybe we need more in this changing times?
We can certainly do that. Anything creative that allows what little bit of time people have to engage in the game and do it conveniently, I think is a really good step in the right direction. All other sports have these entry levels in, and golf's been very traditional as far as how you got in. I have a client lives about 2 hours from me, actually bought it. She moved from up north and bought a home in a community that has just that. It's a 9-hole par 3 community, and she has a ball. She's out there every day after work playing, practicing, bought herself a golf cart. She's part of the regular group of people who play every Saturday for a little bit of skin money. She's just enjoying herself. and it's a very relaxed atmosphere. Anything that can happen along that line, I think, is a step in the right direction. I've had a conversation with Reese Jones last year and Beth Page where he's redesigning courses with those things in mind and really talking to facility owners about that in order for you to have a very good business model, a manageable and profitable, successful business model, there's got to be a few more T's put in where the hazards are still in play. The various elements of golf course architecture are still there where a beginner can experience them, male or female, yet still enjoy the game. I think the days of building golf courses that are exclusively long, which eliminates, like we said, 42% of the people that are interested. As we go forward, I think we're going to see that change. It's a gradual change. It doesn't happen overnight. It's like turning a dimmer switch, but at least it's being turned in that direction.
Yeah, I think that's again some great points. We certainly don't want to detract entirely from what we know as sort of our traditional golfing roots. But I think, I know, Jamie, as you did, and Paul and John, I'm sure you've had similar experiences growing up. When I grew up, we didn't have, as many resort courses and championship courses. In fact, we played in some cases, at our local public courses, in some cases that were run by either a municipality or city, or executive style courses. I mean, for one, that's what I learned on growing up, and you could get around them pretty easy, and compared to that. And I think that's again, as John pointed out, Paul, having some of that entry level, I think might be a way. And I know there's a lot of other products out there that try to simulate that, but I really think this is a direction that golf in general needs to go to, is to start looking at, let's find an entry point, get people into the game that's less intimidating, that's easier to accomplish. There's some great programs out there we've talked about over the years where, instead of playing tee to green, we play green to tee. In other words, playing the short game, focusing on that and learning how to score before we worry about how far we can drive it. So there's a lot of great things that we can do to make it less intimidating for people. Paul, any final thoughts or comments that you'd like to make on what we've been talking about here tonight? Anything that caught your ear in the last hour that maybe you want to touch on a little bit as well?
I just think that any level of innovation that we can bring to solve these problems and bring women, really anybody into the game who wants to play, it's time, and we have an opportunity right now where there are a lot of people who may have just dabbled in golf at one point and took a long break and are now coming back to it because it was one of the few activities they could do, or maybe are completely brand new to golf, and we have an opportunity to keep them in the game and make it something that they're going to continue to do and make part of their lives. I definitely believe that any new golf course that's being built should have loops built into it, basically, where it is not that hard to play a 3-hole loop or a 6-hole loop, so people can get their golf experience for whatever duration of time they have for them that day. They can go out and have a chance to go play some holes. I know that coaching and group programs can be a really great way to provide a golf experience in a short period of time. And making those kinds of programs available at public facilities will make a big difference too. And I agree, Ted, that golf courses have gotten too hard. And I grew up on 2 Parkland-style public golf courses in Chicago that I loved, and they weren't, I think the 18-hole course had a par 69, and it was just barely over 6,000 yards, and I love playing that course. So you could miss it 2 fairways over and still find your golf ball. So it helps when things are easier, and gives you a chance to kind of latch on, and if the game's welcoming and people are made to feel welcome and at home, like John said, I think we'll all be in good shape.
Yeah, well said. Well, let me just say in closing, before I give you each a brief moment to let the folks know how to reach you out. Really, tonight's discussion was not, to point out areas necessarily of improvement that could happen, but just to really cause us all to focus on ways that we can create more opportunities for people to play this great game. We all understand we have been very blessed to be in the profession that we are and get access to some of the best facilities out there. And, we want to, share the love, as it were. And I think what we need to do is as many suggestions have been made tonight is to, just look at the facility as a whole. How can we improve it? How can we make it a more enjoyable experience for everybody? And what can we do as an industry to offer other opportunities that we maybe are not doing right now to and make it more welcoming and inviting for particularly our female enthusiasts to want to adapt to the game. The less intimidating, the less uncertainties that there are involved in it, the more apt that they're going to take a stronger interest. And with those numbers being what they are, and we just sort of touched on a few of them, that's an opportunity we cannot afford in any industry, but particularly in a golf industry, to miss. Great discussion tonight. I know it's a little different than probably what you imagined, but I think we have to be able to have these discussions in the industry, and I couldn't think of a better place to do it than on the panel tonight. So I want to thank you guys, and we'll go in the continued order again. Jamie, if you want to let the folks know how they can reach out to you, and then John, and then Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for this topic and for all of your research and statistics. It's been great and talking with you guys. So people can reach me at Jamie, Jamie, at kiagolf.com, KIAI golf.com. And I always say I actually answer the phone. I like to talk to people. 760-492-GOLF, 4653. And I just want to add one more point, which is there's so many ways that we can practice at home. I've actually developed a lot of home-based practice, fitness, swing development, short game stuff you can do in your backyard, putting obviously at home. And with COVID, people are looking for ways to, practice, work on their game at home. Mm-hmm. And I'm happy to consult with people. I've done a few family golf lessons online. And so I think that there's a lot we can do about developing golf skills at home. And this is the perfect time to do that.
Right. Great job. John, go ahead.
Real easy. John Hughes Golf. JohnHughesGolf.com. On Twitter, John Hughes Golf. Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. It's really easy. Be looking later this summer. I just started a project I'm going to keep a little secret, but it builds on one that I let out in April that I'm super excited about. Reach out to me if you're ever in Central Florida. If you need any remote coaching, that's available as well. And thanks again, Ted, for the honor of being on. Always a pleasure. Jamie and Paul, again, great job. Appreciate you being on as well.
All right, thank you. And last but not least, Paul, how can the folks reach out to you if they want to get in touch?
Just like John, my website's paulcastergolf.com. I'm on Instagram and Twitter as paulcastergolf. My phone number is 732-529-2222. And in-person coaching in my studio is going to start next week, thankfully, here in New Jersey. And I'm also I teach outdoors at a club nearby called Jumping Brook Country Club. So we do playing lessons and short game lessons there, and remote coaching is also available.
Perfect. Well, guys, I want to thank you very much for joining me tonight on Coach's Corner here on Golf Talk Live. Again, it was a very interesting discussion, and I appreciate all of the thoughts and viewpoints you guys brought in. And I look forward to having you guys join me on the next Coach's Corner next time. So have a safe weekend, guys. Enjoy your rounds and get out there and do some great teaching.
Thank you, Ted.
Thanks, Ted.
Thank you.
Too.
Thank you all. Yeah. Be well.
Have a great night.
All right. That was my very, very special guests here on the Coach's Corner panel, Jamie Leno-Zimron, John Hughes, and Paul Castor. Thank you guys for doing a great job. I appreciate it as always. All right. For those of you that have been to the Myrtle Beach area, you're probably very familiar with some of these great tracks, and you might even be familiar with my very special guest this evening. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about his business. His business is Mystical Golf. Myrtle Beach has always been about value golf, but the low price has sometimes meant a low quality experience. But Mystical Golf shatters that myth with its trio of excellent courses and some amenity-laden packages. And with flights, direct flights from LaGuardia, it's an easy trip for Westchester golfers as well. Simply put, we offer the best stay-and-play packages in the U.S., says the owner and CEO of Mystical Golf, Claude Pardue. He is my special guest tonight, and his three courses that we're referring to is the Wizard, the Witch, and Man of War that were designed by architect Dan Maple. So please welcome my very special guest tonight on Golf Talk Live, Claude Pardue. Good evening, Claude, and welcome to Golf Talk Live.
Thank you for having me.
All right, I appreciate
it. This is special.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm glad to have you. Now, I've been out, and it's been a little while a few years since I've been out your way, but I am familiar with your properties there, and we're going to talk a little bit about them. But I thought what we would do first is just go back a little bit, if you wouldn't mind, before we get into sort of the meat of tonight's discussion, and that is when you first started playing golf yourself. When did you first sort of get introduced to the game? At what age, and what was your initial experience?
I started playing golf when I was about 7 years old. My dad loved it, and he actually got me into the game. And I started then, and I have, just like a lot of people in my time, I had 5 or 6 friends that they were starting too, so we kind of grew up playing golf together. And so it was more of a natural thing than anything else.
Yeah, so many. I'm very much like you. My father, in fact, it was a little bit before that, but pretty close to your age as well at the time. And he introduced me to the game and taught me the basics and the fundamentals, and let me grow and nurture from there. And here I am, many decades later, still enjoying this great game. So I owe him that debt of gratitude, if you will. Yeah.
I think that happened when you and I were growing up a lot more than it does today, unfortunately. I'm not sure if that's progressing the same way.
No, I don't think. I mean, there's certainly. You're exactly right in your analogy. I think what it is, there are so many activities now, and then we've always had baseball and football and soccer and many other sports there, and well entrenched in the school systems. Golf obviously was not one until you got a little bit further along in your education, where some high school, but particularly collegiate golf, of course, is big in many states and areas. But you're right. If you didn't have a golfer in your family, like you're usually in most cases initially, back then it was your dad and sometimes your mom and dad. But you didn't really get introduced to the game until a little bit much later in life. So let's fast forward. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. The other thing that happened when I was a kid, and that didn't happen when I've got a son who's 35 now, but when he was a kid, I played basketball and I water skied were my other 2 sports when I was growing up. Well, we started basketball practice the 1st of November, and when I was a little kid, in Pee Wee and whatever other leagues I played in, and then you were done in March. When my son, who loved basketball, was playing basketball, he played for whatever team during the winter, and then he played AAU ball in the spring, and then he played his traveling teams during the summer and playing sport, and he also played football and baseball. It's an all-consuming sports when your kids are growing up now.
Right.
We played golf because whatever sport we played was just a 3 or 4 month sport, and we played golf because we had the time to play golf with our dads or whatever. Shoot, a kid today who picks up a sport, it's a 12-month thing. And his dad's involved with him with that, too, taking him all over the place to play. And so that wasn't there when we were growing up.
No, you're exactly right. You know, I grew up much further north, and you know, we had hockey in the winters and, you know, golf in the summers. Our summers were obviously much shorter. Our golf season was certainly much shorter than what, you know, we enjoy down here in the South now. But you know, so we were lucky to get out and get the golf that we could before the cool winds, you know, made it so that it was so difficult. I want to just read something real quick, Claude, and then I want to, you know, get into about your business and that. But as I mentioned just a few moments ago, your courses as part of the Mystical group was designed by Dan Maples, and they are again the Wizard, the Witch, and Man of War. Each one offers a different and challenging style of layout. The Witch was awarded 4.5 stars by Golf Digest, while the Man of War and the Wizard each earned 4 respectively. And the trio is consistently recognized by Golf Channel as among Myrtle Beach's 5 best golf courses. So very, very high accolades, and congratulations. That's certainly a great honor to have as a business owner. Yeah, and so I want to again, as we fast forward many rounds, I'm sure, and we got to a point. There came a point, and you said, okay, you know what? I'm going to start this company, or I'm going to get involved in this company. However, and we'll get into that. Tell us a little bit about the history of Mystical Golf and how you got to where you are today.
Well, thank you. We actually started, my first golf course was actually in Pinehurst, actually Southern Pines, which is right beside Pinehurst for those that travel to the area. Is a golf course known as Highland Hills that I bought in 1984, and that was my first golf course, and it was in pretty bad financial shape, but it had a lot of play, which meant that people enjoyed playing it, or they wouldn't have a rounds. But for a lot of reasons, it was having some trouble. So I bought it in December of 1984, and that was our first property. And my partner at the time, a great individual by the name of Richard Lee, he and I bought it and started running it. We needed to turn it around, and we moved our families to Southern Pines, and that was our first venture. And over a period of 4 or 5 years, we took a golf course that was grossing right at $350,000 to $400,000 a year, and we turned it into a golf course grossing a little over $2 million a year. And we did a lot of things to do that, but a lot of it was marketing. A lot of it was organizations that we founded, whatever. And then in 1987, we started looking for expansion because we thought our ideas could work anywhere. So we found the Myrtle Beach marketplace and how hot it was at the time, and we decided that we wanted to expand into that area. We started looking for land in 1987 and finally found a piece of land that we wanted to build on. And I think I looked at probably 50 tracts of land back at that time. We were firm believers that a golf course has to have magic. It has to have something to separate it. It can't just be 18 holes. It has to have a visual. Now, not all golf courses can have the visual of the Monterey Peninsula like Pebble Beach does, but it still has to have something. And with the Witch, we found the Waccamaw Swamp, which is a 23,000-acre swamp, and we found a piece of land that Canal Wood owned that was a little over 500 acres, but it wound through the swamp. And so we decided to build there. one reason we chose Dan Maples is Dan understands that to build a golf course, it's a partnership between the owner and him, that because the owner's the one that knows what he wants to market, how he wants to market, and Dan knows how to route the golf course in order to take advantage of all that is in the property. And I like that about Dan, is it's a partnership between us to develop a golf course, instead of a lot of architects want to build monuments to themselves and then they walk away from it. They're not the ones that have to market it, operate it, cover expenses, maintain it, and all the other things that have to be done for a golf course to be successful. And that's why I chose Dan, and I actually think he's the best architect out there for that reason. And so we started building. It took a year and a half to build the Witch, and we opened it in September 1989. And frankly, we take you on a little bit of a amusement ride through the swamps, is the whole idea of the Witch.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I can imagine that would be a very interesting ride indeed. Let me ask you, Claude, when it comes to golf courses, and this is something I think that others in the industry quite often fall short of. As you mentioned just a moment ago, there are many architects out there, and certainly a lot of good ones, but tend to want to build a monument. And they're beautiful to look at and got some wonderful features, but from a playability standpoint, sometimes they miss the mark. When you were working with Dan and having your discussions and so forth for the various properties here that he's worked with you on, was that something that you wanted to ensure that not only were they going to be attractive looking golf course and appealing to the eye and have all of the the points that you mentioned, but you also wanted to make sure that they were going to be accessible and playable for any level of golfer?
Yeah, that's kind of a tough thing, because there's a balance that's hard to get in the golf industry between the guy who wants to take a golf vacation with his buddies but can't break 110, and then the portion that wants to play that are all 5 and 6 handicaps. It's that term playability for everybody. It's not going to appeal. It's not going to have an interest if it's not challenging and interesting enough.
Sure.
We try to look at what we think of as fun shots. For example, people don't like to hit uphill shots. No matter whether it's a scratch golfer or a 30 handicapper, uphill shots are fun. Downhill shots are a ball for everybody to hit, whether they're hard. Number 8
I would agree.
at Pebble Beach is a ball to hit because it's downhill, and hitting off the side of a mountain is a ball to do. And we try to get fun shots. Now, I believe that if somebody makes a golf course hard because he makes it pro length, I think that's silly. Anybody can go out there and make a golf course hard by making it 7,600 yards. So if you're talking about playability, we don't do that. We want there to be the guy to have a shot that he can hit. Not that it's easy for him to hit, but he has the ability to hit. If you have a 270-yard carry, 99% of your golfers can't hit that shot even if they have a bucket of balls. But if you have a narrow fairway on a 200-yard carry, almost every yard, or 180-yard carry, but it's a narrow landing, almost every golfer can hit that shot, but some golfers may only hit it 1 in every 10 times, but he can hit that shot. So it becomes a fun shot for him, although it might not be easy for him, and that's the balance that you've got to get. A good example of this, I love great, hard, short par 4s. Great short par 4s are the hardest to design and build in the world, but they're so much fun and so wonderful because everybody can play it because it's short, but it's still a hard, short par 4. We have one of those at number 9 at the Witch that's been picked as one of the top 18 holes in South Carolina. It's only 335 yards, but it's one of the hardest par 4s you'll ever play, but it's got a wide fairway, and it's only 335 to 45 yards. It's only 360 from the tips. So that's a great hole to me. And because, as I said, everybody can go out there and build a 465-yard par 4. Everybody can do it.
Right.
Just draw it on a piece of paper and go do it. But try to build a great short par 4. That's what takes brilliance from an architect, in my opinion.
So, using that hole as an example, what makes for a good quality short par 4? What are some of the ingredients that you need to have in order to make that successful?
Well, I think it's different on every hole, but that particular hole is built in the swamps, just like the entire front side of the Witch is. But you have a fairway area that's cut out with swamp all the way around it and swamplands to the left side, which is a dogleg left. Because of the trees on the left side, you have to hit it's a short par 4 that you have to hit a very accurate, relatively long drive, which is interesting because you have to hit it straight and long enough to get it past the trees. Not one that's so long that you can't hit it if you're a decent golfer, not a great one, but a decent golfer, but you still have to hit a long, accurate drive. And then you have to hit it towards the left side of the fairway because it's got a really narrow green on the other side of the swamp. And it's got a wide green, but a narrow green. So you have to hit a 9-iron or wedge into it, or it's so narrow that you'll hit on the green and you go off the green. It's somewhat like hitting into the 12th hole at Augusta National that's so narrow. That hole is only, from the tips, only, 140 yards or whatever? It's one of the hardest par 3s in the world at 140 yards because it's so narrow. But it's fair because you're hitting into it with a wedge. And if you hit a good wedge, you should be able to hit into a narrow par 4. So it makes it really fair, but it's still a really hard shot. Dan also believes, and he taught me this because I think he's right. The 9th hole and the 18th hole or whatever on the normal golf game, that's when the bets are decided. And that's when, if you have a 120-yard shot and you've got 2 presses riding and you've got to beat your buddy, that's a hard shot to hit. But it looks like it should be easy because it's sitting there right in front of you. Well, things like that are what separate a great hole from just building a long hole that everybody in the world can build.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And you know, I've played on a number of different courses over the years, and you know, some again were beautiful designs, but again, it was sort of the typical run-of-the-mill golf hole. And you know, after you've played that type of golf hole time after time, it gets a little bit old. So it's kind of refreshing. I like your approach in you know, wanting to have something that sort of strikes the right balance of challenge, but is accessible for, you know, any golfer, regardless of level. There's a little something for everybody there. You be on your game, but it's not so difficult that some of your higher handicappers can't get out there and have a good time as well. And that's really what it's all about. So my next question for you, Claude, is this, and that is, you've obviously found if you will, a secret sauce in your business. You found something that works for you and has made you successful in your own right. How do you differ from your competitors? What makes your approach to with Mystical Golf different from some of your other competitors, particularly in the Myrtle Beach area?
I believe that you sell, when a person buys any product, you, for example, when you go buy something, you use the same idea no matter what it is you're buying, whether you're buying shoes, a car, golf, a dinner, or whatever, you use the same principle, and that principle is if you buy something that you think has a value of $100 and you get it for $80, you think you've got a great buy. If you get something that you think has a value of $80, but you pay $100 for it, then you think you've got a bad buy. You buy value, just like 90% of the stinking rich guy who's a movie star makes $1 million a year. He'll go waste money all he wants to, and it doesn't matter. But that's not my customer, and it's not the average Joe. Although we've had a lot of famous people love my golf courses, and that's the fun part. But but you buy based on your perceived value. I want to create something where we give, and actually it was either Golf Magazine or Golf Digest called us the best value in golf. That's music to my ears. I'm not the most expensive. I'm not the greatest golf course. Pebble Beach is my favorite golf course, but you can pick any you want to. I'm not that. But what I am is a great value. I want every customer that plays our golf course, I want him to see magic. I wanted to get a golf course that, for the most part, is in terrific shape for what he pays. And I want him to, when he drives out of my property, I want him to say, man, that was worth every dollar that I spent on that game of golf. And then he has bought value, just like buying a shoe, a car, or whatever. They want him, a car dealer wants him to drive off the property thinking he got the deal of the century. I want the same thing. I want to sell value. I want to take and either give my customer a better quality experience for the same price or give him the same experience for a cheaper price than all of my competition out there. And that's what we sell. We try to sell a golf course that's much nicer in comparison to everybody else that he plays than what he can get for the same dollar. Now, I'm not by far not the cheapest golf course, but you'd be hard-pressed to find a golf course, a 4.5-star golf course that you can play for the price we charge for the Witch. And that's the point. But the Witch is not anywhere close to the cheapest you play.
No. And, you know, you're exactly right. People want to feel that they're receiving good value, and they're willing to pay a little bit more as long as it matches that value. And you're right. You're exactly right in your analogy and your comparison. If you're buying something that, you know, is valued at $100, but you're getting it for $80 and vice versa, those are great analogies. I want to ask you something else here as well. Mystical Golf offers the best golf buddy packages in the U.S. What is it that you offer your guests that earns that title?
It gets the same thing as offering value, but within our golf packages, we tailor them to golf. If a customer wants to come and buy a golf package for all the other things that he might want, then he might not see our value. But if somebody truly loves golf and wants a golf package, we're the ones for them. And we can give a golf package. But it's not just in our stay in place. We have some condos that we will sell golf packages through. All of them are 3 bedrooms. All of them's got 4 beds in them. So they're designed for foursomes. We actually have some that have 5 beds in them if somebody has a fivesome. But we also work with some of the top hotels down at the beach, and they put our 3 golf courses together. The Myrtle Beach National Properties that own 20 hotels on the ocean. We work in conjunction with them, too, and you can buy our packages through them. But the people who buy our package are Mostly. Now, there are a lot of exceptions to this because our golf courses are fun and they're beautiful and we have a fair price for them. But so we get packages from all over the world. But mostly the people who buy my golf packages are the real golfers. Now, they don't have to be the best golfers. They're the people who come to Myrtle Beach for the golf. There are a lot of people that come to Myrtle Beach for the nightlife. There are a lot of people that come to Myrtle Beach for all the free food that can be put in the packages, and that'll attract them more than anything. Because there's some of them that have to give away, a lot of meals and stuff in order to get the golfer to their golf course. But our golf courses, we are for people who the golf is the most important thing to them. And I think that they're the people who love our golf packages the best.
Yeah, and and that sort of goes on to my next point is, there are so many great areas, here in the United States. I obviously reside in Florida, and I know we've got some great courses along the way. And, you go out west, and, California certainly has, and Arizona, and so on and so forth. But for some reason, Myrtle Beach seems to come to mind to so many golfers as a great and very popular golf destination. Why do you think that is? I know you've touched on a few points here just a moment ago, but why do you think Myrtle Beach stands out so much above so many other places?
One thing that that differs with Myrtle Beach is that I think a lot of different areas, and maybe it's different areas in Florida and out in Arizona and whatever, they have different levels within the marketplace. Some areas tailor to the upper end golfer financially. Some areas tailor to whatever. Myrtle Beach, one of the greatnesses of Myrtle Beach, and I think it's wonderful, is that we have everything. If there's a group of golfers that work that in order to take their golf vacations with their buddies, because they also have their family vacations and the other things, and they got to support their families, but they just want to go and be with their buddies and hit a golf ball and buy a beer and a hot dog and go out to a sports bar in the evening, and that's really what they want. We're the place for them because we've got golf courses that are priced so that everybody can afford to come to Myrtle Beach. And then we've got some of the really nicest golf courses that anybody will play, like the Man o' War and the Witch and Tidewater and the Dunes Club, and that'll rank with any golf courses that are in the United States. And so we've got everything you can do. And the thing is, you got a lot of people come into our marketplace and pick and choose so that they can make their golf package affordable. They can play, if they're staying here for 5 days, they can play a Man o' War and a Witch and a Tidewater and then add to it a couple of the low-end golf courses so their 5-day package is affordable for them, and Myrtle Beach allows them to do that. And it's a wonderful thing because we can tailor in Myrtle Beach. We can tailor whatever it is you want, and we've got it for you. And that's what separates Myrtle Beach from certain other areas that are out there.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I can remember years, a number of years back, my friends and I planned a trip to Myrtle Beach, and you really couldn't beat it. I mean, and there's some beautiful courses all over, the United States and beyond. But Myrtle Beach, I would agree with that. I think stands on its own for many of the reasons and more that you just pointed out. I want to shift gears for a minute and talk about your children's foundation. Tell us a little bit about that. And I know it's important to Mystical Golf. Tell us about the foundation. What is the name of the foundation, and what is its purpose? What is its mission?
Yeah, this is something that's very dear to my heart. To start this story, I have 4 children that are now all grown. they're in their 30s, and I'm now getting grandkids. Well, I dedicated my life to my kids and my company when I started having kids. My first child was born in 83, and then had them through 87 while I was starting my business. And so working 50, 60 hours a week and with young kids, and my wife and I moved our family to Southern Pines. I didn't have any time for anything else. In fact, frankly, one of the things I gave up was playing golf, because I wanted to be, every second that I wasn't working, I was with my kids. And so we dedicated my life to my kids. And so my kids started graduating and started going off to college. And I had empty nest syndrome about as bad as anything. So I came up with the idea that I've always worked with charities, and a lot of them would be charities with kids, but I came up with the idea that I wanted to start a foundation. And one of the reasons I wanted to start it was a little bit selfish. I wanted it to be my company's foundation and get my employees involved, get them, except we don't force them to get involved, but we give them the opportunity to, so that we can do the things that we do. And it started out small, and our first fundraiser was a golf tournament that we started the week before Christmas. And we didn't know about the timing, but we could afford to close down 2 of our golf courses to start it then. And we started this in 2001. That was our first fundraiser. Well, it turned out that the week before Christmas is a great time to hold a golf tournament, because nobody's doing anything. People don't travel till after Christmas, we found out. So our golf tournament has been packed ever since we started it. And our mission statement is to provide joy for kids that have no joy in their lives. And God has led us to children that are placed in treatment centers like the Lighthouse Care Facility here, and the Waccamaw Youth Center here, and the Seacoast Academy, and the Connie Maxwell Girls Home, and the Lancaster Home in Lancaster, South Carolina. These are kids that have been suffering through neglect and abuse, and are placed in these centers. The vast majority of them are suicidal. They get there and they think it's because they're bad people. About the second or third year, I did our Christmas party for the Lighthouse Care Facility. I met a little girl who was in there that was suffering from severe depression and suicidal tendencies because her mother tried to drown her. She was 10 years old. These are the kids that we're trying to do. And what we do is we go in and provide directly for the kids. The first thing we started doing is we buy shoes for every kid. Now, we don't just buy shoes for them. We buy whatever shoe they want to buy. If they want to buy an Air Jordan, we buy an Air Jordan. And we've just grown. We also have gotten to where we provide activities all year long for these kids. A lot of them get in these homes, and the homes, most of them are provided, paid for by their fees are paid for by the state and the feds. But there's no margin to do anything else, and they're in these sterile homes that have nothing for them to do. They're safe. They really get there and they believe they're in prison. And the majority of the cases, the courts have placed them in these places. So they really believe they're in prison. And there's no money there for them to do anything that a normal kid would do while they're living in these homes, because the government in its infinite wisdom says we don't want them to spend any money for this other stuff, like going to the movies or doing the other things. So that's where we step in. We step in and actually provide those things. We buy all the kids at 2 of the homes around here, the Waccamaw Youth Center and the Connie Maxwell Facility for girls. We buy them season water park tickets to Myrtle Waves down at the beach so they can go to the water park all summer long. We bought 70 season football tickets to Coastal Carolina's football games so that 3 of the homes could take their boys and girls to the college football games all fall long. We've taken them to movies once a month. We've taken them to We've taken them to things like rock and jumps where they have these trampolines where they jump on. We've taken the kids to some of these homes to state fairs. We've taken some kids from a couple of the homes in Georgia. We take them to Six Flags over Georgia. And we still provide the shoes for all the kids at Christmas. This past Christmas, we bought 260 pairs of shoes that we gave to all the kids, and they picked out exactly what they wanted. And that's it. Forget the money. It's a hard logistics in order to do that. But we've done it in conjunction with the wonderful people at Foot Locker, which have kind of partnered with us in order to do that. We also, with the great people of Samaritan's Feet, who give away shoes to kids all over the world without shoes. We're a part of a Christmas dinner that feeds 7,000 homeless and sheltered people on Christmas Day. We show up, and through Samaritan's Feet, we give away a new pair of shoes to every kid who shows up for that Christmas dinner, both in Myrtle Beach and in Andrews, South Carolina, and we gave away an extra 400 pair of shoes there. We've donated shoes to other organizations that give shoes directly to kids. And what we do is we don't give a dime to any organization. We provide directly to the kids. When we want to take them to go on a trip, we pay for the trip. When we want to give them activity passes, we pay for the passes. We don't give money to the organizations. We also take the kids in these homes, and let's say a kid wants to play in the band. We make sure he gets an instrument. Kid wants to be in a chorus. We make sure that they get their uniforms. Whatever school activity they want to do, we provide it. One of the homes has a baseball field in back. My agronomy staff went and renovated the baseball field and put it into shape, and we buy gloves and bats and balls for all the kids in that home so that they can have baseball games in the afternoon and an activity play. We make sure that kids get basketballs if they want to play basketball. And we do, and that's what I said. What we do is we give to the kid so that kid can have the same experience that your and my kids have. And the professionals tell us that what's great for that is now they don't see the homes as prison. They see a home as a place that the people around them love them, and they break down all these walls and barriers, and now the professionals can do their deal and actually impact and save kids' lives. One thing, and I could talk forever about kids, but one thing I do want to say that's really sad to me is that we as a country, we don't take care of our kids, period. You want to see all the problems you see on TV. I promise you, after my experience for the last 20 years, it's because these kids weren't provided for when they were kids and could have been led differently. You can take every problem with anger and everything else is because these kids weren't raised with love. And I could get too emotional about it, and I won't, but that's what you'll see more ads about abuse of animals, and I love my dog too. So don't all you dog lovers get mad at me. But you'll see more ads about abuse of animals than you will abuse of our kids. Now, and it's great for those who want to do it. You'll see ads about abuse of kids in Africa or Asia or wherever, but tell me the last time you saw an ad that was trying to save American kids, other than the great movement at St. Jude Hospital. Other than there, tell me the last time. And how many dog ads have you seen since then?
Right.
And
that's a great point. Yeah, that's exactly a great point. Let me just first go back for a second. Let's just say, what a great thing that you and your staff and all of the others involved are doing. You're exactly right. We have, as business owners and as adults particularly, to especially when we've been blessed with good fortune, but we should do it anyways. But particularly when we've been blessed, we need to reach back in our communities, and it starts with the kids. It really does, because you're exactly right on your point. How the development of that child, ensuring that they have good nutrition, obviously, but ensuring that they have accessibility the same as other kids do, makes a world of difference. There is nothing worse than, as you pointed out, growing up and not having, access, and you're seeing other kids who, outside of your immediate environment that have these things, and it weighs so heavy on their psyche. So you're exactly right. It's no wonder why, depression is so rampant in the youth in this country. You're exactly right, and I applaud you and all the people affiliated with your foundation for doing a wonderful thing. And obviously, I know that's something you're. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, there are two more things that I would like to point out. One of them is the absolute belief that every human being, in order to get through life and even have joy in life, has to have hope. And I'm going to tell you, with kids, the way to get them feeling hope is to give them some joy. And that's an absolute, it's not just a belief, it's something I know after dealing with it for 20 years. The second thing, that if there's any business owner out there, and they aren't going to believe it unless they try it, any business owner out there that is running a business, or any business manager that's running a business, and he has problems with attitudes among his employees and motivation and whatever, go out and get you a cause and make it your business's cause. Can't imagine what that does. My golf pros go out all summer long, and they hold golf clinics, and we bring in these kids from these homes. They would much rather do that than give a golf lesson that they're making $50 for. I mean, they have a ball on Monday evenings when you're getting involved with these kids, because we bring them in from a couple of homes that we do the golf clinics from, and they're volunteering their times. They love that. They get involved with our tournaments and our charities. When we take them to the Alabama Theater, thanks to the wonderful people at Alabama Theater that give us free admission to a couple of their Christmas shows. And we take these kids, and all my employees get involved and everything else. And I'm going to tell you, all of a sudden, their job has a different meaning other than just being there on time, doing your job function, and going home. And I would strongly tell every business out there, if you want to improve morale in your company, go find a mission that your company can do outside of your company, and get all your people involved. And all of a sudden, their whole job and their whole company will have a different feeling for them.
Yeah, it changes one's attitude towards life in general. You're exactly right, and I think that's a great, some great words of wisdom, because we all want to do well in our careers, and we all want to, be successful in our own right. But you're exactly right. When much is given, much is expected, and we have an obligation as men and women, and particularly as adults and as human beings, to help one another when we can. And that's a great way, as you said, for companies and organizations to get involved in their community. Reach out as you did 20 years ago, and reach out and you find a need. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the same one that you're doing, but it can be another need that is in your community. And when you're actively involved and you include your employees in the process, they look at things a lot differently, and they also look at you a lot differently as a business owner, and saying, it's not just all about dollars and cents for this individual. It's also about, making a positive impact in his or her community. So I applaud you for that, Claude, for doing a great job.
Well,
it's not an easy thing sometimes to do.
Well, actually,
right.
It's always easier than you think it is. We served over 900 children in 2019. And it's going to grow to 1,000 this year. And I have no idea how we got here. There was nothing hard about it. We just did it. I mean, it's almost like a miracle. It's not something that was hard. We just had to start, and then just see where it went. And then everybody does what they want to do, and then everybody next year wants to do more because they loved it so much when we did it.
Well,
it's really kind of amazing how it works.
Right. You get to see the expression, in your case, you get to see the expression on these young faces that you encounter, through this journey for the last 20 years. And think of the impact, not just materially what they received, but just think of the impact that you and your group have made on these individuals. And I can guarantee you, when they become adults, and those that are already adults now, they will look back and they will remember that you did what you did. And they won't remember so much necessarily the specific items or so forth. It's the fact that somebody reached out and cared enough about them to do something for them. That's what they will remember. And hopefully, in many cases, I'm sure a lot of cases, they will do the same thing as they get older and develop, as they'll say that, it's possible to do that, and they will reach back for somebody that maybe needs a helping hand in some way, shape, or form. So, again, I congratulate you, and I know you're not doing it for the congratulatory aspect of it. You're doing it because it's been pressed upon your heart and your soul, and I applaud you and your group for that. I want, as we just have a few more minutes left, and then we've got to wrap up, I want to give you the opportunity to do two things. To let the folks know where they can reach out to get more information about some great golf opportunities that Mystic Golf has to offer, and where they can go to learn more about the foundation and some of the great work that you're doing. So let's start with the golf courses. How do we get advantage of some great Golf Buddy packages?
Well, they can about a lot of ways. The first way that they can do it, which they might enjoy because they can see pictures and videos. We have some great videos that we created. They can go to mysticalgolf.com, MYSTICALGOLF. And on Mystical Golf, that's for all three golf courses. But it also has a description and talks about the things we do for our charity events. Our two big fundraisers is we do a concert series where we bring in performers. Larry Gatlin and his brothers have performed. Ben Vereen has performed. Marilyn McCoo and Billy Davis have the old Fifth Dimension have performed. We have Crystal Gale's going to perform this January, and we do a concert series every January, and then we do our tournament in December. We do other things that are fundraisers that raise money, but they can find out about all of them on Mystical Golf also. The other thing they can find out about our packages that we sell through our golf course that are at the condos that are right beside the Wizard, and but also if they want to stay on the beach, they can ask any of the hotels on the beach, because all of them love us, so they all package us. And if they're talking to any hotel on the beach, they can say, I'd like to play the Mystical golf courses, or ask them for golf courses individually, which Manor Ward and Wizard, and they will package through them also, because as I said, they all will package us.
Perfect. Well, I have thoroughly enjoyed our discussion this evening, and I'm going to have to make a point of visiting Myrtle Beach real soon, and if I do, I guarantee you I'll be stepping on the hallowed grounds of the Witch, if you will, and giving it my best. I'm going to definitely check out that short par 4 and test my mettle, if you will, on that one. But Claude, I want to thank you very much for joining me tonight. Yeah, I will definitely. I will make a point of doing that. I promise.
Your hospitality.
No.
Yeah, thank you so much for your hospitality, and I so hope I didn't ramble on too much.
No, you were perfect. I thoroughly enjoyed listening. One of the pleasures of doing these programs is, the great people that you get introduced to in the golf business. I'm obviously in the golf business as well, and I teach and do other things. And just on a side note, I recently actually purchased Golf Tips magazine, so I'm now the publisher and owner of that publication now. Yeah, and so we'll have to talk about that. There may be some opportunities that we can work together through that venture, but I appreciate you coming on tonight. I hope you have an open invitation. You are welcome to come back anytime, and maybe as things progress through the year and you get closer to maybe a special event or something that you're doing for your foundation, please reach out and let me know, and maybe I can have you come back on the show and plug that ahead of time. So you're welcome to do that.
Great.
Just reach out anytime.
One quick thing also.
Sure.
I understand you're from Canada.
Yes, if you didn't pick it up in the accent, then yeah.
Well, that's
right. My
I
friends and I.
But next time you interview me, and write this down, we need to talk about my experience with my good friend Mo Norman, because there's some stories that are worth telling. Mo and I became friends back in the 80s. And he was something.
I knew Mo quite well, obviously not as well as you did, but I played a few rounds with him, and I knew him actually through another acquaintance, a very good friend of his, which I'm sure you probably know, Nick Westlock, as well.
I haven't met him. I met Mo because he used to come and teach at the Pinehurst School. And he didn't trust their housing, so he lived in his Volkswagen Beetle at my golf course at Southern Pines. And I'd feed him breakfast every morning. Then he'd go teach at the Pinehurst School. Then he'd come straight back and hit balls on my range, and I'd talk to him and watch him for hours.
Yeah, he was a very interesting gentleman, to say the least. But yeah, well, I will definitely have you come back, if nothing else, to share some great Mo Norman stories for sure.
Again, great. Well, thank you very much.
Not a problem. Claude, thank you again. And go to mysticalgolf.com to learn more about the great properties that are available to play in the Myrtle Beach area. And also maybe you can do some help with Claude's foundation as well. I think he would appreciate that. Claude, again, thank you very much. God bless, my friend, for coming on. And I look forward to hosting you again on our future show. Thank you and have a great weekend.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. That was my very special guest, Claude Pardue, President and CEO of Mystical Golf. And again, go to mysticalgolf.com. They got some great packages for you golfing enthusiasts out there. And, let's get out there and play and enjoy this game. And I can't think of a better place to send you than to Myrtle Beach. So get out there and book your golfing vacation, get your group together, get your golf buddies together, and let's get out and play some golf. Again, I want to thank everybody on the Coach's Corner panel, Jamie Leno-Zimron, John Hughes, and Paul Castor. And once again, thank you to my special guest, Claude Pardue, President and CEO of Mystical Golf. Thanks, guys, for doing a wonderful job and for joining me tonight on Golf Talk Live. I enjoy doing these shows tremendously, and I look forward to another great panel discussion next week and another interesting guest interview. So I hope you'll join me. Have a great weekend, everybody. God bless, and I'll see you next time right here on Golf Talk Live. Thanks for listening to this evening's broadcast of Golf Talk Live. Remember to tune in each week at blogtalkradio.com/Golf Talk Live. If you can't join us live, check out the on-demand section for previously aired broadcasts, or listen on any of the following social media platforms: iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, CastBox, TalkStream Live, and of course, Spotify. To get updates on future shows and upcoming guests, be sure to visit the show's Facebook page, Golf Talk Live blog. You can also follow me on Twitter at Ted and Buck CEO. Remember to join me live each week for another great broadcast of Golf Talk Live. See you next time. This has been a production of the iGolf Sports Network.